what's up, Dev?
What's up, Raj?
So, yeah, man, we got a new podcast going on today. It's a new format, right?
It's we are no longer live, which it's bittersweet. We miss the people in the
You know
comments.
what that means? That means I can watch the show now, and I can make fun of myself and critique the show. You know what I mean?
That's right. I feel the
In
same.
real time. When the audience watches this, I will be right there with a bowl of popcorn, watching it too, throwing popcorn
Well,
at the screen.
and honestly, the comments were just distracting. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. There were so many good comments, but now I don't have to look at it. I can just
They
really
were
soak in the content
right.
in real time. And life is all about the here and now.
Right.
And so,
And you know what? We're not gonna strictly go to a pre-recorded thing. Shows are picking up. Me and Devin are musicians, so our time is, and the artists we interview, same thing. Shows are picking up. So it's an interesting thing to get congruent times like we have been over the past year, but we're gonna have those moments where we're still gonna go live with you. So stay tuned, and of course we're gonna be letting you know about those special edition shows. But
exactly.
today is a special edition show because we have the great Pachyman joining us, right, Dev?
Woohoo! That's
This,
right.
this is
Pachi
dope.
is Pachi is not only I'm not only a fan, but I like to think of myself as a friend. And so
Yes,
it's exciting day when we have friends on the show.
for sure. We're gonna dig into some new music he has, and I can't wait. He gets it, man. He knows reggae. It's like you and me get off on that, right? Because that's why we're homies. Is that when you speak that same language, when um, reggae is just a part of your life, and you can talk about producers or artists and talk about the nuances that go on in the music. Pachi's one of those guys, so I'm really stoked to talk to him in a bit.
Me too.
But before we do that, we have record of the week, correct?
That's right. It's like we're kind of reverting to our the way we started the show at the beginning of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We played records and we talked to guests, and
Man,
that's what we're doing now.
I was so young back then, man.
The things we've learned,
The things we've
the
learned,
things we've seen,
the things
some
we've
of the things we
seen.
can't unsee.
Right, I've
But
seen a lot of my house. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of your house,
seen a lot of the same backdrop, which by the way is cardboard. It's not real.
and that Tiffany lamp was not
Oh,
there at the
Tiffany lamp.
beginning. Yeah,
Yeah, Tiffany lamp.
that's
Tiffany lamp. Yo, what's up?
you
Tiffany
know
lamp. I'm starting to collect Tiffany lamps for anybody that doesn't know out there. Um, Apparently they're expensive, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Dang, what if you just start getting a grip of fan Tiffany lamps sent to
I
you?
would love that. Tiffany lamps. If you guys know what those are, some of you are like, "What is he talking about?" Um, I didn't know what they were either, but I liked a certain look of a lamp. It's a vintage lamp. I know we're getting way too into this. Anyways, long story short,
I didn't see the show going in this
they're,
direction, but
they're called Tiffany lamps, and they kind of look like this guy back here. This guy, contrary to
it's
jokes,
funny
is
because
not a
we've talked
Tiffany
about this
lamp.
lamp a lot now,
Yeah.
and you can't really see it. It's like kind of back there, So to
Well, I
most
didn't
people,
have
that
time
just
to
looks like
set
a
it up.
lamp. I
Usually,
bet
I
some
set
people are
it up.
like, I don't see a lamp.
Yeah, I usually set it up and like have it, kind of show itself off, if you will, and be lit. But in this case, it's not. So yeah, Tiffany lamp. Send it to 19. No, I'm joking. Speaking of lamps, we're gonna go into
Speaking of
one of
lamps,
the one of the hardest tunes out there. This one, you want to go first or me, or what are we
you
doing?
go first. You go
All
first.
right, I'll go first.
Yeah. Speaking of
Um,
lamps,
you're such a gentleman. Thank you. I'll go first. Jeez. Uh, this is a unique one. I literally got this record in the mail yesterday, and so
ooh,
I had to put it on because I was really excited about it. I'm really proud of it. This is the first time I guess either of us are kind of putting our own stuff as far as the record of the week, but
hmm
came in the mail and it was meant to be. So yeah, play the tune. We'll talk about it afterwards.
all right.
Cool.
Woo!
Dope.
Yay!
So
That was
yeah,
bad.
like I said, this is one of those first times where we're kind of like upping ourselves on this record of the week. So there's really nothing to talk about. All right, next record. Devin, what do you got?
All
No,
right.
this is a really cool collaboration.
Moving on.
Moving on. Did with these guys out of Naples, Italy. I actually wasn't familiar with them. Alfredo and his label Aloe Vera is a really cool label. They have some really cool artists already on the label, and this was just the rhythm. It kind of came together really naturally during COVID. um I'll get hit up, and sometimes it feels like natural and right, and when I heard the rhythm I was like already like, oh dude, this is easy, let's do this. So it kind of, all the way from his first email to me just throwing organ on there, and then him getting it pressed, and then it having such a positive some positive feedback. And so
So,
yeah,
so to clarify, this band from Italy did the
officially
rhythm and sent you the rhythm, and you put organ
Officinalis.
on it. You put
Correct.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. It
So
sounds
they're from
great,
Italy.
man.
I've never met the dudes, Alfredo
The
and
Officinalis.
exactly. And the vocal version he was selling before, and that's a really cool version too. I can't remember the band name. I want to say the Black Stones or something like that. But see, I'm really unprepared. However, S45 is available on his website, and I think he's close to selling out. So if you guys see this and it's not on his website, you can find it on Discogs. I know it's up there. But yeah, I wanted to share that. And I think in the shows to come, Devin's got some new material coming out too. And so we're going to constantly bombard you with some cool stuff. But
That was killer, man. That was really, really,
thank you.
really nice. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like
it was a
that.
fun one.
That it's cool because you know how we talk about like listening to Jamaican organists, and you can, especially you being an organist, you can hear a song, and you're pretty sure that like, oh, that's Jackie Matu or that's Winston Wright, and I'm definitely at the point where I can tell, like, if I just heard that playing somewhere, I'd be like, that's Roger. Like I know your style, you know what I mean? And like,
Exactly.
and it's dope. Like it's cool. It's really cool to like hear something new in real time. I never heard that yet. And I love that, like, I don't know, I'm not a good enough musician to like call out the note, but you know what I'm talking about. That note that you keep playing.
Oh
Like
yeah,
in the
yeah,
little
yeah.
in
What
the hook.
exactly? You know what's crazy is it's like it was a different approach because, and this is a super nerd talk right now, but it's a minor kind of scale,
Give it to me.
and this is you know the notes. So it's let's just say it's F minor, but the note half a step down from F. There's these notes that give tension, and
Right.
any other place they would sound wrong, right? So like, but if you play them in accordance to like the line, then it's like very opposite. Not only does it not sound wrong, but it sounds cool.
Sounds
So
so right.
it's a certain scale. I'm not gonna act smart and act like I know which scale it is, but it's a certain kind of scale where you're playing with these notes that don't make sense on paper, but they do when they're associated with the actual root notes that kind of like take you back to what the scale is about. But and that's been nerd talk for today.
That was killer, man. Thank you. Thank
Right
you for
on, man.
sharing that, Raj. And
Yeah, it
yeah,
was
people
cool.
go pick that up. These things that Roger records on all end up being like limited edition, and you want them in your collection because once they're gone, they're gone.
Yes. Devin, what do you got for us this week?
Well, and this is unplanned, but I have an organ instrumental as
Yes,
well.
I'm into it.
It's an organ day. So we'll talk about this on the flip side, but this is one of my favorite organ instrumentals. I'll be curious to know if you have ever heard it, Raj, because I'm 99.999% sure it's Jackie Matu because it's Studio One and it sounds like Jackie Matu. Nothing. I don't have any like documentation saying it's Jackie Matu, but I'm pretty sure. But it's a unique rhythm, and Jackie's just killing. It's one of my favorite Jackie Matu tracks. So we'll talk about it on the flip side. But this is a tune by dub specialist called Skankers Incorporation. Yeah, dub specialist, Skankers Incorporation. That's So first of all, I want to talk about this record. I've got it here with me, and I don't usually play LPs on this show, but today I did. And this is one of my. This is like a series of Studio One dub specialist dub records called Jux. This one, this one's Jux. What is it officially called? Jux Incorporation Part 1. And then there's Jux Part 2, which is, or it's Jux, I don't know how they say it. But Part 2 was the one I got first, actually. But both of these two records are just like, man, I've read some people say that they're like not super into Studio One dubs, and I don't understand that. I guess, like any at some point in the studio's history, they probably cranked out some stuff that was less than stellar, but some of these dub specialist albums are so good. And these two, the Jux series, are just wicked. And like, it's got some great liner notes on the back. It says the musicians. It says special thanks to Jackie Mitu. There you go. Richard Ace, Earl Bago Walker, Cedric Brooks, Dennis Campbell, Ernest Rangland, Eric Frater, Horsemouth, and Freddie McGregor. Those are the musicians it like lists as being on this record.
Wow.
There's everything on it from like rhythms I've heard, like that one, which we'll talk about, to just like rhythms I've never heard anywhere in Studio One except for on these records. It's really great. There's not a lot of dub happening on them. It's just letting the records speak for themselves. Anyway, they're some of my favorite. But that one is Jackie Mitu going crazy on the organ. It's the rhythm is from it's the Gladiators called Mr. Baldwin. Which is, if anyone goes, you look that up. It's on the Heartbeat reissue of, it's called the Gladiator Studio One singles. Not that great one, presenting the Gladiators. It's one they put out maybe 15 years ago, a reissue that Heartbeat did, and Mr. Baldwin is on there. And that tune is killer. I'm a huge Gladiators fan. And there's a connection with that tune, Mr. Baldwin, and the song Bald Head Bridge by Culture, if people are familiar with that, because it's like the same lyrics, like and we've had Clinton Farron of the Gladiators on twice, and both times I've had the question written down, like to ask him about, like, because there's a couple songs between the Gladiators and Culture. There's another one called Stop This Fussing and Fighting that both groups do. So I always wanted to ask him, like, what is the Gladiators Culture connection here, but I never did. So episode 3 with Clinton Farron, I'm gonna have to make sure to ask him that. But I don't know. The drums in that tune's got to be Horsemouth, and just killer. It's like,
Yeah, I agree with when you mentioned, the dubs as far as Studio One dub specialist. It's in its own category because you listen to dub music, and I don't think, and I might be crucified here for saying this, but as far as the dub chops go, dub specialist wasn't anywhere close to top 3 or 4.
I
whatever it
agree.
is. As far as if you're listening to it for dub, but you know what I find in my experience is there's a fair amount of dub specialist songs that I've never heard before, so that they're like supposed to be the dub version of something. But I find that when I hear another dub, okay, it's a dub version of a well-known tune or something like that, like here's the dub version of Big Ship from Freddie McGregor or something like that. But I've heard many dub specialist songs where it's coming from Studio One, but I haven't heard the actual OG. Almost as if it's like, oh, we're gonna turn this into a dub song because this never was something that we pushed as a single.
Right, the vocalist it didn't work out or whatever it might have been. So, but
there's some heavy songs that I'll listen to, not even because I don't look at it as a dub, but it's a song that's just an instrumental song. You see what I'm saying? And it's like dub specialist because I've never heard this instrumental anywhere else. I'm like, oh, dude. So I definitely dig whenever I see the word dub specialist. I'm like, oh shoot, I got to hear this, but for almost a different reason, because it's probably going to be a tune I haven't heard before. And think about the potential, right? If you had the freaking vaults of Studio One, what you could possibly dub out, yeah.
But I think you hit the nail on the head with, like, maybe that's what I never gave it too much thought, I guess. But maybe that's what people are referring to when I hear people say, like, oh, I'm not really into the Studio One dub albums. They're really leaning into, like, focusing on the dub elements, like you said.
Yeah, they want some tubby. They want, something.
Yeah. Whereas for me, like I never really listened to dub that way. It's weird to say, right? Because that's when we think of dub, we think of effects, and this whole show we're gonna be talking about dub with our guest Pachyman. But when I like for me, the main thing I'm listening to when I listen to dub and listening for is just the overall package. So that might be what the engineer's doing, but just as often it's like I love when I flip over a record and it's just the instrumental presented by itself, and maybe there's some fader work happening, and it's going to bass and drums, and it's going to like a rhythm, and you get to hear the different elements. But for me, it's like hearing, like now I can really hear what that like guitar is doing,
Right.
or now I can really like listen to that like bubble part, and almost to the point where like a delay would have gotten in the way right there. So like some of these dub specialist records, I'm like, did the engineer know that he wasn't like very good at dub, and just like he just was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna even like touch it. I'm just gonna like let it happen, because there is some stuff happening. They put nice little reverbs and delays and phasers. You can tell that Studio One phaser, and I don't know a lot about it in terms of like the equipment they have, but I'm telling you, man, those Jukes Incorporation Part 1 and Part 2, and then Soul Jazz has a couple dub Studio One dub records. They have 3. They have like a dub Studio One dub Volume 2, and then they have one called Version Dread, which is
that's a great one.
all killer. Yeah, that's the one with like the old Rastaman with like it's all black and white, but he's holding like this little like weed.
Yeah, I
shoot,
have that
and that's
one.
in
That
green.
see, that's a good example of opposite of what I was talking about earlier. Like that has dubs of, I think Bobby Babylon and a
Yeah.
couple other ones. So that's a good example of like, oh shoot, you have this vault of dope stuff. Let's do some dubs off that. That's a great. I think that's from Heartbeat as well.
That's Soul Jazz, I
Oh,
believe. Oh no,
I
you
think
might
it's
be right.
Heartbeat.
You might be right. That's
I think
Heartbeat.
it's
Yeah, you're right about
But
that.
the cover's wicked, right? Yeah, it's all black and white with like the green.
Yeah.
Um, great. I think it's a double LP.
It's a
too.
double LP. That cover always like struck me as cute. I was like, oh, that's so cute. That old man,
Aw, look
with
at
the
the
thing.
cute
It's just very cute.
Yeah.
It's
Come over
just,
here.
it's
Let me
very
taste
sweet.
that.
It's very sweet. It's like endearing, very endearing.
Right. It's welcoming. It
Yeah.
sets the day. It's like a cup of coffee.
Yes. All right. Well, that was our Record of the Week segment. And as always, the Record of the Week is brought to you by
Dun, dun, dun.
the Rootfire Reggae PodClash merchandise store. You can shop at rootfire.net and click on the store tab and go get yourself a Reggae PodClash mug, a hoodie, a shirt, a hat, a beanie. I rock these designs all the time. I love my hoodie. I basically live in it. And like I've mentioned before, I'm somebody who loves to wear reggae gear. I'm always searching the web for any kind of reggae gear I can find. So here is your chance. If you're like me, get some more reggae gear. The design is by Roger, and this is a non-profit show. We don't make any money, but we do have some expenses. And so if you feel like supporting the show, this is a great way to do it while also getting yourself some great reggae gear. Also, if you just want to make a donation, you can also do that through Venmo. You could send that to Rootfire. And that was how do I even turn this off? There we go. Oh, we're back. That was the Reggae Merchandise podcast store.
That's my The Rootfire Reggae PodClash merchandise is brought to you by.
Well, you should be reading that then.
No,
what am I doing?
I don't want to read the whole thing like that. It hurts the throat. Can't do that.
That's true. All right, Roger. I think we've talked enough. Why don't you bring our guest on?
Next, we have me and Devin have been looking forward to this show. As soon as we knew we were going to have him on the show, it's a no-brainer. Good friend of ours, amazing talent. And when I say amazing talent, you could say that about a lot of our guests, but this gentleman right here, if he cloned himself 5-6 times, he has a full band for you, and every single instrument will be played amazingly well, and heavy reggae would be coming out of it. He has some new music, and we're going to talk about that. He's a master behind dub engineering, behind playing music, and he knows what reggae is all about. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Pachyman.
Pachyman.
Hey,
How you doing, man?
up? It's an honor to be in Reggae PodClash.
It's an honor to have you.
It's an honor to be on a show that you guys were just playing organ tunes as well.
Yeah, they don't do that on K-Rock anymore. Dang it.
No, the organ hour is long since.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember K Rock had Reggae Revolution in the anybody who was in LA in the early '90s. They had a show called Reggae Revolution with Native Wayne.
Yeah.
And that was probably like my first introduction to reggae, being in like fourth, fifth grade, and just I didn't even listen to it that much, but I just remember like, oh, there's this show on K Rock called Reggae Revolution, and that's when Wailing Souls' Shark Attack was like a hit, so they were always playing that.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Um,
And
yeah.
now it's Baby Shark.
Now it's just
Shark Attack, Baby Shark.
these things come around.
I love
So-
your Tiffy lamp, by the way, Roger.
So what?
Your Tiffy lamp.
The Tiffany lamp.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Well, thank you. It's the first of hopefully many when all the viewers come start watch the
When
jokes.
they start flooding in.
Yeah.
The joke's gonna go bad. I'm like, oh my gosh, man. You're gonna come to the pad, Devin, and you're gonna be like, what's up with all the boxes? I'm not Tiffany lamps, you know. But thank you, Pachi. Thank you. It's the first of many, hopefully. I'm gonna collect and be that guy.
So, Pachi, we have a lot to talk about because you have a new record and there's a lot to go into. But for anybody watching who is either unfamiliar with Pachyman or is a huge Pachyman fan, can you talk a little bit about how you? Okay, so we're gonna go a little out of chronological order because I definitely want to talk about how you started off in reggae in general. But first, I want to like fast forward to when you started. When you became Pachyman, because I've known you for a long time and you were Pachi.
Yeah.
And then you became Pachyman and you started putting out these amazing videos once a week of you writing original rhythms and playing everything yourself. Can you talk a little bit about what those are for people who haven't seen them and how you started doing them, how you got the idea, what went into making it, everything about those?
I started doing the video. It was just I have like a basement studio, and I've been collecting like shitty gear that I found at thrift stores or like Guitar Center used section or whatever. And like it was through playing with you guys that I learned about the Tascam 388 tape machine, and like I got really interested in that, and I started like just recording shit in my basement, and I'm really like into lo-fi stuff and like that kind of sound. But I grew up obsessed with a lot of Jamaican records, so there was like a moment that I was like, I'm just gonna try to figure out like how to record myself playing reggae, but like try to make it sound like the foundation sound of it, and at the same time just gonna record a video and like try to edit it real time and post it on Instagram because I'm bored and it's Saturday and I'm off work. And that's kind of how it started. It was just like a kind of in an accident kind of situation. I had been practicing like drums and bass and like just like trying to figure out different modes of recording. I was just trying to like, I was over being a musician and I wanted to learn how to be an engineer, but like I didn't want to go to school for it. So I was just like practicing in my basement to do it and like looking up YouTube videos on how to record and shit. And then I just ended up recording like that video and like running it through the tape machine and doing like a little dub take, and I posted it on Instagram, and it went off. I kind of broke the internet in a small.
You did. My internet didn't work for days after that. I watched that over. And over.
Wait a minute, you're the one that broke it. Dang it.
Yeah, my internet has actually never recovered from that.
Oh yeah, Devin's never recovered.
Sorry,
I knew it was Pachyman.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I mean,
that's how it started.
Man, you could have fooled me because it's like the production and coming from someone who dabbles himself with production stuff, it's like, dude, it's spot on. Everything is spot on. Who feels it knows it, and you feel it and you know it. It's this certain thing you can't teach. You can have the best equipment or the most vintage equipment and the most expensive equipment and still not achieve a certain vibe because the actual player of the instrument isn't in tune with that, and
Definitely.
For you it's the total package. And it's such a trip because I mean that, like, if we could clone you,
Dude, I
like
thought about
5 different copies of you,
I
man.
looked it up.
It'd be the ultimate reggae band, dude. I'd definitely love to see that live,
Yeah.
And because that's there's so many different feats here, the production is spot on, the songwriting spot on, and the playing of instruments spot on. It's not like, oh, Pachi's a really good keyboard player and the drum bass is kind of, no, everything is like in tune with each other. And
Thank you.
dude, yeah, when I first saw the stuff, I was I was blown away. I'm like, dude, Pachi, because we met through Expanders.
Yeah,
I remember going to Spiro's, and
yeah,
first
mahogany
that was like, what the heck, because as a keyboard player, you know other keyboard players in the scene, and I think you had just come over to LA.
from Puerto
Um,
Rico. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So tell us about that. I mean, because since we're on that subject, like when did you cruise over, and how did you start? Who did you meet in the reggae or the music scene, even in general, in Los
Yeah.
Angeles?
I moved in 2012 to LA. I grew up over there and playing in different bands, and a lot of reggae bands, and just like I kind of like cut my teeth over there for, I don't know, say 10 years, just playing in bands while at playing in reggae bands as well. And I ended up moving to Los Angeles, and I knew about Dub Club. Um, through Christine, who's my wife now. We were like going out at the time, and she moved to Los Angeles before I did, and she was like, "Oh, I found this club that you're gonna love." It's like, oh shit, okay, cool. So like first weekend, I'm like, okay, I gotta go to Dub Club, and of course, I met Orlando there randomly in the crowd, and I just kept going there. And that's kind of like where I started going to see like just like either bands or like just just like records, because at the same time that wasn't happening in Puerto Rico. Like I couldn't go to a club that had DJs that had like the deepest cuts of like all the eras, and to me it was just like eye-opening.
Was there any clubs? I mean, it's hard to say a club that's similar to Dub Club anywhere in the world, but
True,
was
true.
there any club that would play reggae on a regular basis?
Yeah, I grew up like going to, well, like after like I'm tail end of high school and beginning of college, there's this bar called El Patio, the backyard, in Aguas Buenas, which is close to Caguas, a town in Puerto Rico. It's like up in the mountain, and they used to do reggae shows, like local reggae shows every Saturday. So like that was like the spot. Gomba Yavari used to play there all the time. Cultura Profética played some shows there, but at the same time, there's like so many reggae bands in Puerto Rico at the time, and they were all just like every Saturday. But there wasn't like, and they played music, but it wasn't like a DJ situation. It was just like bands, and there wasn't like much clubs playing like reggae, like deep cuts as to dance to. And like there's not like a lot of vinyl anyway. Like we don't have record, like now we have record stores, but back in the day, like vinyl was like difficult to find. Plus it's hot as shit, and they just warps to fuck. But yeah, that's kind of like where I started cutting my teeth with like reggae music over there.
Dope, man. I mean, what a perfect you moved to LA, and all of a sudden it's like, here's Dub Club.
Yeah. And I met Devin through a Craigslist ad.
It was a crazy random. You want to tell the story, Pachi?
Yeah, dude, I had just okay. So first
What
job,
section of Craigslist are we talking about?
musicians community.
Yeah, we'll just keep it that. We'll say it's that.
So I started working at my first job. I got a coffee job, whatever.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna cut you off real quick but let me just give my perspective before
Please.
you. Okay,
Yes.
so Expanders, as Roger knows, needed a keyboard player for a long time. We never had a set keyboard player. Roger would play with us. Various guys in the LA scene, Destin would play with us. Dan Hasty from Oregon, and you do this, Roger. Every keyboard player we had did this. Even Pachi ended up giving us one of these. And so we were like, we need a keyboard player who's gonna like stick with it. And I had the idea of like putting up a Craigslist ad, and I was like, this is a long shot.
Such a long shot.
But but I was like, look, we're gonna be really specific in it, and and if no one hits us up, we're no worse off than we are already, and maybe we'll find somebody. So we were like, we reggae keyboard is needed, but we had all these disclaimers like, you got to listen to this and this and this. No, I think we put like no festival sounds.
Yes.
Like we were really like, we were like nothing modern, and lo and behold. I get this email, and now I'll turn things over to Pachi to describe. We'll go ahead.
Also, it's a long shot too, because it's like, this looks like a solid but this band can suck at the same time.
So from your end too, you're like,
like the description sounds great. I'm down. Let's see how it ends up. Like, and I wasn't expecting for you to send like a clip of any of the music. I was just like expecting to show up to rehearsal and be like, here, I'm gonna find out if this is like a dope band or not. And it ended up being fucking cool. Like actually, like my coworker. So I started working at this coffee place, and my coworker is like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a musician. I'm in LA, whatever." And she's like, "Do you play with anyone?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "Oh, you should check out the community section in Craigslist." And I'm like, "There's a community section in Craigslist?" And I right there in the iPad at work, I was like, reggae, and I like searched, and your thing was first, and I'm like.
Whoa.
And I did it. I'm like, okay, this is a good description. I'm gonna go at home after work and send an email. And I send the clip, and I was like, hey, yo, I've been playing for years. Like, I'm not screwing around. Like, this is my clips of me playing. And like, Devin hit me up like the day after, and he's like, this is the music that we do. And I heard it, and I'm like, yes, this is it, dude. Fuck yeah, it was a good moment.
That's such crazy timing, you know, like the fact that
We were destined to meet.
That we were destined to meet. You were not destined to be our keyboard player, but we were destined to meet.
Who
Pachi found that out real soon. But
yeah. Who is destined to be the Expander's keyboard player?
Roy. It was Roy.
Roy, yeah.
But, never know. No, Roy is destined. Yeah,
but
well, actually, Roy, come on here.
Get in here, Roy.
Roy's here right now.
Is it your roommate?
Oh shit. Is Roy still your roommate, Roger?
Roommate's a strong word there.
Yeah. So, you know, Pachi came through to rehearsal. It sounded great. He came with us up to, you know, both of you guys have a lot in common. You're keyboard players. You play with the Expanders, and both of you have come with the Expanders to Seattle, and then made that your last tour with the Expanders.
Roger, did you celebrate your birthday in Seattle?
Oh, I did not with these guys now.
Okay, so we got to tell that story too, and I promise everybody watching who like loves Pachyman records that we're not going to be talking about our personal stories this whole time. But these stories are too good not to. We're going to get to his music, but so we might as well just get this out of the way.
We're friends first.
Friends first. That's right. And you know, you make me feel even worse saying that because one of the things that I feel worse about in my life, I would say, just one of the things that just haunts me is. The Expanders went to Seattle, and it was Pachi's birthday, and we were playing at the Nectar Lounge. And there is a amazing Trinidadian restaurant in Seattle called Pam's Kitchen, or Pam's Trinidad Kitchen, or something like that. And we had been there before when we were on tour with Marlon Asher, because Marlon's crew is Trinidadian, so they were always looking for places, and they knew about this spot in Seattle. So we hit it up, and it was just like, wow, like so good. So we were all stoked to get to Seattle and eat some of this food. And I had been building it up to Pachi specifically because he likes food, and we were just, you know, like, we just met, so we're like trying to like, you know, form a bond, and I'm talking to him about food, and I was like, man, we got to try this. So we get to the venue, and it's Pachi's birthday, and this is the thing, there's two things I feel bad about.
Nice. How old are you at this moment, Pachi?
28.
Oh, Devin likes him at 28. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So for some reason that I can't remember, this just makes me sound like such a shitty person even saying this. But I basically volunteered Pachi to be the one to go drive across town to get the food
on his birthday.
I don't, you know, all I can say is tour turns your brain into mush sometimes, and you're not really thinking straight.
Especially the last show.
Yeah, was it the last show?
Last show.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone's a little testy as it is. Everyone's a little. Huh?
How long was it?
It wasn't long. I don't even remember what else.
It was a Thursday through Sunday. Okay.
What else did we play on that tour? Do you even remember, Pachi? I don't remember where else we played even on that tour.
We played in Santa Cruz. We played.
That was the tour we did with Giant Panda Gorilla Dub Squad and Simkin Project. Oh, that was a great tour. Now I remember.
Was it like a straight ahead West Coast up and down?
Yeah, it was the In Roots We Trust tour. Now I remember. Yeah, straight up West Coast tour, Simkin Project, and Giant Panda. So it was a cool like package because everyone was playing similar kinds of music.
Last day of the tour. Usually, I don't know about you, but you're kind of like happy you're gonna go home. So
yeah, but we were hungry. We were hungry, and I remember
late for sound check. And
I remember that Pachi was like, you could tell that he was like hungry. He was like getting a little like, all right, guys, like when are we gonna eat? Like when are we gonna eat? And I was like, you know what? You're hungry. It's your birthday. Go pick us up food. So he's like, I've never had Trinidadian food before. What do you recommend? And so I had only had it once, and I told him, you got to get some roti. It's the shit. And he's like, okay, all right, that's what I'm gonna get. So we placed the order, and you want to take it from here, Pachi?
I drove across town mid rush hour, pick up the food, come back to the venue. Like it took me like 50 minutes to like
Wow.
get there, and my food wasn't in the bag. Everyone's
Oh,
food was there, and I'm like,
No,
oh,
see, now you're being kind. It's not that your food wasn't in the bag. It's that I told you to get roti, not understanding that just refers to like the bread that you eat your food
right.
with. Like
oh
it's
my
like the equivalent
God.
in like it would be like if I told you to go pick up
Tortilla?
Mexican food and you were like, I never had it. I'm like, oh,
Gotta
you
get
gotta get some
tortilla.
tortillas. You're like, all right, and then you come back, you're
But
like
did
that's
he even
basically
have?
what it was.
Did he even have the bread? Was it?
I think it
I
did.
had to
Like
go back to pick up rest like other food that wasn't in the bag
Oh my
either.
gosh.
so, not only did I send him on his birthday to get the food, but I told him to get basically some tortillas, and that was it.
And
And
that's
let me
it.
guess, no one volunteered to be like, "Oh my
No,
gosh,
because
Hachi,
everybody
it's
was
your
doing sound
birthday."
check.
Here's
Everybody's like, "Oh, I gotta do this," and I was like, and then
oh
Giant Pan was doing sound check, and like, and
no,
it
but
wasn't.
I mean like volunteered, like you know what? Here's my dish, or let's share this. We're gonna
I
talk about
guess like
friends
also
and
like
sharing.
I was like, and I was like, I dropped the bag and I paced around the
Got
block.
you.
I'm like, not even gonna.
You're like, dude,
But
yeah, yeah. I could imagine.
to
It's like,
make it up, when I don't know who played, I think Simkin Project played first, and they said that it was my birthday. And when we were going on stage to set up our gear, the whole venue sang "Happy Birthday" to me.
oh, that's
Like,
dope.
and that was like, I kind of cried.
That's
That's
dope.
right. That was nice.
And in your guys' defense too, it was my birthday. We were in Portland that morning, and I really wanted to get food at like whatever I wanted, and I found this place, Sweetie D's, that I go to every time I'm in Portland now since that day. But I did not know that Sundays the wait is 2 hours, and everyone waited for food for 2 hours.
Wow.
Like Asher took a walk for like 2 hours.
Well, he
came
does that
back,
anyway, but
still haven't eaten. But it was great food, and like so y'all like did me a solid in my birthday in the daytime before we drove to Seattle.
well,
Nice.
I appreciate you saying this now. I felt very bad at the time, and perhaps not coincidentally, I think that was the last show Pachi ever played with
Oh,
the Expanders.
No. The last show was the day after Seattle at Punky Reggae Party.
But it was
Dang,
because
okay.
of the birthday shenanigans. That's why.
Oh, yeah. And he would not return my texts for years after that. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's not true. I mean, I don't know if I want to say this in the record, but the last song we played was like a song that I've never played before, and it was like they're like, okay, these are the chords, and I'm like, okay, cool, and I start playing them, and of course I'm playing them wrong, and they stop the song, and Devin on the microphone is like, okay, those are the chords, but that's not the structure, and I'm like,
Really?
Wow.
Live? This is not soundcheck. This is live? Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. I've blocked
so-
this from my memory.
So
Yeah.
Devin's a jerk then. I mean, he gives no. No, I'm joking.
Hey,
But
this is here's my defense.
Can we
This is
tell us more
2000.
stories about Devin? Go
We
ahead.
really started touring hardcore in 2013, so I was new to this whole thing. Okay, I learned a lot. Pachi was my guinea pig, unfortunately, in a lot of ways. I do not remember that. I must have blocked that from my brain. Pachi is obviously held on to it very strongly.
Yes.
And wait a minute. Earlier, you said how many keyboard players went through this band? I'm starting to see a little.
Yeah, there's a pattern.
No. Devin's a great guy.
Hey, but we're here today,
Yeah, we're
and
here
we're
today.
still friends.
Devin became a good guy.
No, and also,
I've worked
dude,
on
like the
myself.
reason I left the Expanders wasn't because all of that. It was because
I'm
I
just
wanted-
kidding. We don't have to. It's okay. Don't worry,
Bro, this
Pachi.
is good content, dude. Like, it was
I
because
did.
I
I
started
li-
Prettiest Eyes around that time, and I really wanted to focus on that.
Right, you started doing the Prettiest Eyes at that point.
That was like another thing about like this whole Pachyman thing. I was over reggae. I was like, I need a fucking break, bro. I need to do something different with my life because I came from Puerto Rico playing 10 years of reggae, and then landed in LA, and I'm like, damn, where's the reggae? And like after a while, I'm like, okay, I really just need a break.
You're in LA, man. You're in the melting pot. I mean, I could see where if you love other genres, there's no other place in the world that you could really explore meeting new people and creating new music. And you know what? I do want to, because I want to learn too. So Pretty Eyes was the band?
Prettiest Eyes.
Prettiest Eyes.
Yeah.
And then, obviously I want to talk about that and into bands like, Sex Stains, because you were with Orlando in that one, right? So for a second, let's depart from the reggae and tell us about, these other bands that you were part of.
So when I started Prettiest Eyes around like around the same time I kind of joined Expanders, and that's with friends that came from Puerto Rico with me. Marcos, in particularly, he was a guitarist, I was a bassist. Then we eventually like come to LA. We don't know anyone. I don't know any drummers. I bought a drum kit, and that's how I started learning how to play drums. Was because I bought a drum kit just to like record and screw around with the computer and whatever. And when we started jamming, we're like, oh, dude, we should actually make this into a band. And whatever, I'll play drums. Like, I'll learn. Like, if it's like that easy. Fucking what a bad idea. But hey, we're here now, right?
Mm.
So through that, and Marcos was a guitar player, and he got into bass. A friend of ours from Puerto Rico that lived in Guadalajara for a long time was moving to Los Angeles around the same time. His name is Danilo Presti. We call him Love Juice. And like us as a trio started Prettiest Eyes. Ironically, Danilo Presti moved back to Puerto Rico, and he took my chair at International Dub Ambassadors, which was the last reggae band that I used to play with when I was in Puerto Rico. And now he plays in Cultura Profética. But and from like after like that band, we started like just going at it really hard. He left to Puerto Rico. I got my friend Paco Casanova to fill on keyboards, and we like really committed to that project still to this day. And like
people should check that out, by the way. International Dub Ambassador is so good. You guys had Von Benjamin on a couple tracks.
Yeah, dude, that was bucket list.
Yeah.
After I'm like, dude, I don't have to do anything else.
Yeah. But go on. I just wanted to make sure people didn't pass that by because it's a great band.
Yeah. Where was I?
You
I
started
leave Expanders to focus more on Prettiest Eyes, and like I started meeting more people in the scene in Los Angeles. Like there was like this huge garage rock revival. The OCs had just moved back into town. Into town. Ty Segall moved into town. Like all these like cool venues in the East Side started happening, and all these shows. And I started like I kind of like left the Expanders, and like I got into that scene, even though I was still going to Dub Club every Wednesday. But I was like submerging myself to all this like experimental rock and this lo-fi noise and like all these things that basically led to me doing that for years, and then being like, man, I really want to relive like with what I know now, and like with my love for this like different aesthetic of music. I want to, in a way, it's very connected to reggae in a weird way, like, you know, like the whole punk and reggae thing, you know. And kind of that was like what really motivated me to start doing like the dub productions. It was just like stepping out from reggae for a long time and like doing all sorts of other stuff. I started, so to answer your question, Roger, we started Sex Stains with David Orlando and Sharif Dumani, Alison Wolf, and Mecca Vasti Andrews. And we started that, like David's idea was to like, David and Sharif's idea. I mean, it was a democracy in a way, but it was like it stemmed out of like punky reggae and the Slits and like those aesthetics of music, you know. So I played bass in that band from the beginning towards the end, and we did a record on Don Giovanni Records, and it was a really fun time of a band, and like the music is solid. So those were like my main projects. I think when like Sex Stain stopped happening was like when I started like doing more production work on my own.
Yeah, and that band, I mean, you know, seeing that from a distance, right? Social media between you know, because David Orlando, for people that are tuning in and don't really know, when we say David or Orlando or Boss Harms, he's one of the best reggae DJs we have in Los Angeles. He's a staple at Dub Club. He's a resident DJ with Tom Chastain. So, but yeah, I mean, he would post about Sex Stains, and then so I would see you guys definitely breaking ground, you know, with different articles and different write-ups, and I was like, dude, this is so dope, because you could tell that you and David were like-minded in many areas. And, you know, the association that reggae has is it's this era, you know, piece. Like people are fans of reggae, the old school stuff. Well, that applies to everything. If it's punk music or rock music, it's like, you know, people gravitate towards maybe a 70s sound or a 60s sound or whatever. So that's the commonality. But yeah, man, it was fun to watch from a distance, because you guys were, and I heard some of the stuff, and it sounded great. The talent was there. I mean, you got the talent. You guys had the talent. And
I saw you guys at I guess it must have been Punky Reggae Party at least once.
For sure, yeah.
At least once. Crazy like stage energy. So
definitely, yeah. A lot of energy.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about these Pachyman records then. So you were talking about it at first. You know, you started posting these videos. Why don't we like go back to that? You had days off work, and you decided to make some videos. And then at the beginning, did you have any, like, how soon between, like, when you started doing it, how long did it take when you were like, oh, you know what, like, I might be able to, like, put a project together, like, put a recording together?
I mean, I guess it was like 3 or 4 days afterwards. I got hit up by my friend Lance Baresi at Permanent Records, that he had like 3 or 4 stores in Los Angeles, and record store and a label. And he's like, "Hey, you got any more of those tunes?" And I'm like, "Oh, sure. Like, why?" It's like, "Oh, maybe for like Permanent's consideration to like put out a record." So it was like immediately after that first video, like, got a message from him, like, "Oh, okay, so this could actually be a record." Like, so I took it upon from there, from that day on, or like a couple of days later, to like try to do one a week, and like to lead up to a record, and it kind of worked out perfectly. By the time July hit up, that like I started doing that in January, and by the time July came through, I turned in like a whole mastered record with art and everything, and like
This was like 2018,
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
So from January to July, you
From
made the
January
whole...
to like April, May, and then in July I turned in like the whole record.
Because that's crazy. Just as a musician who's been a part of many records, and even this record I'm about to put out now, it's like when I hear, like, I've always taken forever, years to make a record, So like when I hear about those quick turnaround times for people, I'm just like, wow, that's just so
Same.
beautiful.
I still take a long time, but for some reason with Pachyman I can do it fast. Maybe it's because it's me.
It's because it's you.
I don't have to like answer it. I don't have to convince anybody to do anything. I don't like, I call all the shots, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. Okay.
Right.
And that's a special thing. I think, we've all been there where we have a song idea or even a whole song planned out, and you try to explain it to the bass player, drummer, whatever, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's going to be, lost in translation. There's going to be the game of telephone. And it could be for the better, it could be for the worse.
Yeah.
I think as a songwriter, because we all three of us are, sometimes you have this, control, and you're like, man, I just play this bass line, or just play this drum beat, and sometimes a drummer will come up with a different beat, and it might be better or worse, like I said. But with this situation, it's like, wow, this is definitely a case of what I intended is just that's what it's going to be, because I'm playing all the instruments. And so there must be a certain kind of, like liberation of that. Like, I don't know, like, because I can't do it. I can barely play keyboard. So the thing is it being able to like go, okay, I'm going to play this drum beat with this bass pattern, and it's going to lock in. I'm going to do a fill right here, and then this instrument's going to respond. How do you approach that? Like,
well, actually, that's kind of improvised, because I always start with the drums. I record everything to click too. So, and I record into computer. For those who think that I do everything to tape, I don't. I record to computer. I do a lot of equalization there, and I mix down to tape, which is another situation on its own. But for me to do this on my own without having, and to crank out tunes once a week, like, there has to be like a way. You got to limit yourself in a way, like, so I always record drums to click, and I have a song in mind, or kind of a bass line in mind, and I play, and like I just do fills randomly where I think they should go, and then when I'm I go down after to bass or to keyboards, depends. But using that as a reference, I'm just like playing along to my other track, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna improvise, kind of, and they all kind of fall a line, and since I'm going behind this, I'm like looking to the past for reference, and to these records for reference, there's a certain limitation to it, because you already know that thing that existed, like, what that like how those records sound. So like in my mind, I'm like trying to recreate that, which brings a bunch of implications of like, am I trying to get good at something that was perfected 40 years ago, or like, am I trying to do me? But that's, that's another wormhole of like artists situation.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I try not to think that way, because I mean, I think me and Roger are in a similar boat to you in terms of like trying to recreate an old sound,
Exactly.
and I don't like to me, it's just the continuation of this music that we love. You know, I try not to dwell too much on like, should, you know, how much of myself should I inject? You know, because you are injecting yourself into it. Like any musician, like you're gonna play what you grew up listening to, you know, and you make a conscious decision, like how much you want to, you know, use that as a stepping stone to try to create something else, or how much you want to really immerse yourself in that and just keep, you know, try to keep making more of that. And I think all those, any way you go is a valid decision, you know?
Yeah.
And I know, like, for myself as a fan of like that music that sounds that way, I'm glad that there are still people putting out music like that, because even though I'm a fan of all eras of Jamaican music, including, you know, the music that's coming out right now, the music that's coming out of Jamaica right now doesn't sound like the music that was coming out in the 70s and 80s. So the fact that there are still people making music that sounds like that, like I love getting a new Pachyman record because I'm like, yes, like that sound that I love. Now here's some new rhythms, you know?
Right.
So I love it.
Thank you.
And I think lots of people do also, you know, I mean, I know they do because of how much, you know, how well received your projects.
Yeah, the reaction has been insane.
It really has.
Yeah, that's why, like, in the first video that I ever posted, like, it was so, you know, it was such a situation, people reacted so well to it that I was like, I'd be stupid if I don't keep doing this, because it seems like I'm onto something, you know. So and a lot of my peers that I look up to like it too, and I'm like, there's nothing better than like having your peers be like, good job, man, keep doing it. Yeah, there it is.
So this is the first one, right?
That's the first one.
It's Pachyman in dub, which is like, first of all, for people who are listening and not watching, you know, do a little Google image search of Pachyman in dub so you can know what we're talking about. But like anybody who knows reggae music and knows reggae covers specifically would look at this. Like if I saw this record in the store, immediately I'd be like what? That's an early 80s dub record. Yeah. You know, because it's like, it looks like a Yellow Man cover or something like that, you know? Yeah.
And like the Superstar Disco Rockers vibe too.
Exactly. So is there a tune? So let's see. Is the first song you did that first Saturday, is that on this record?
It was on a Saturday.
Oh, that's the first one. Saturday. Yeah. All right.
That was my first. There you go. Full circle.
But so are these tracks in chronological order of like when you recorded them?
Not necessarily. Some of them are moved around, but the first three are.
Oh, nice.
Wait, let me see. Let me see it again. No, actually, no. The third song was the second song I ever did.
Well, I'm done then. This interview's over.
Yeah.
But okay, so that came out in 2019. And so what was like, so you had this great reception to these videos you had been posting, and I encourage people, can they go find these on YouTube, I guess?
Yeah, they're all over.
So I encourage people to go check that out, because not only are you getting to hear the tune, but you're getting to really watch. It's like a tutorial, you know? Yeah. And whether
because it doesn't even look like when you see the video, it's like it doesn't even look like he's playing like it. Obviously you're playing that, but it does, like, the era of the video doesn't even match the era of the, like, what the sound looks like, you know?
Right. Yeah. It looks like someone in 2019 playing, you know, early 80s and late 70s.
It looks like you're playing to an old record, really. You know what I mean? Like you're just
But it's pretty mind-blowing, because, you know, it's like you're playing the bass, so it'll cut between various clips of Pachi playing drums, playing bass, playing guitar, playing the second guitar, playing keys, you know, playing organ, playing piano, playing percussion, and I think even on a couple there's like you play melodica, right?
Yeah, some of them, and the mixing board.
And yes, and dubbing it out, engineering. So it's like, and it's all Pachi, you know what I mean? So that's really.
Are you singing on any of the stuff?
I recently started, not in any of the pressed records, but I recently started like dabbling in singing.
Well, this new one, and we'll talk about the new record in a little bit, but just to jump the shark a bit, it's like you're doing like some cool little like shout outs at the begining, some little like, you know, this is Pachyman stuff.
The return.
Yeah, which is really, really cool. But okay, so that first one came out, and the reception was really good, and it was limited pressing. You probably can you get that record at the moment?
I mean, no, it's at Discogs, and it's like way too expensive. I do not encourage anybody to pay $100 for that copy. It'll be repressed again. Like, that's like straight up. Like,
no, you gotta tell them go get it.
Discogs charts,
because that's the first press. That's the first press.
That's the first
record
press.
Collectors.
Like, come on, man. Like, that's like $150 for a pressing.
You know what you should have done, Pachi, is you should have
That's
pressed
true,
like 700 copies instead of 500 or whatever, right? And then, but you don't tell people you have those last 200, and then you create a Discogs burner account, and you're the one selling them for $150.
dude, this is smart, dude.
All right, your next record's not pressed yet, so you need to
like it.
take my advice here, because if people are going to be selling these records for exorbitant prices, it might as well be you making the money. Anyway, so that first record came out. It was well received. Did you like? Was there anybody, from that record or even like from then until now who like heard it and hit you up where you were like, oh shit, like so and so like heard it, and like did you hear any feedback from like any of your like musical heroes about it, or anybody where you were like, oh nice, like
not well, like
besides me.
Yeah. Actually, like Mark Spear from Khruangbin, the guitarist from Khruangbin,
Nice.
like we started like DMing on Instagram, and he eventually bought a record, like, and he was like, "Oh, I'm a fan, dude. I'm buying." Like a year later, but I'm like,
That's crazy because
That's
he's
it,
the
I'm
one.
out.
He's the
I'm
one
out.
He's the one I bought my Discogs copy from for $150. That's crazy. So
Full circle on a Saturday.
Say
by the way.
that. No, how
Full
dare
circle.
you?
no, I bought it from you. I got it from you right away. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is selling out. So
Yeah.
that
It was
came
only
out.
250 copies, by the way.
Oh, okay, nice. So
Tiny.
then, which I think is an even better cover.
Oof,
That looks cool, man.
oof. You think so?
Hell yeah! Are you
Okay.
kidding? I don't even know like how you did that stance. By the way,
Yeah.
It's
That's
impossible to do. That's
it's
not,
like the flamingo, fucking
Nobody
flamingo man.
if no one knew you, it'd be like, dude, that one-legged gentleman is the shit. No,
Yeah,
that
he plays all the instruments with one leg. That's insane.
that has so much like swag, that like I said, who feels it knows it as far as the music's concerned, but also the design, the aesthetic
Thank
to
you,
the whole
thank you.
package. Because the music could have been amazing, which it is, and then the design could have been kind of like, oh,
yeah, it's like, yeah,
it could have been like it didn't match, but this is a seamless package.
definitely. I wanted, definitely when I started, it wasn't like after those first, I didn't know that this was gonna be that. Like little by little, the more I put out the more I put out songs on Instagram or singles or whatever,
Mhm.
the more I felt like, damn, you know what would be cool if I like recreate like the whole persona of like the 80s dancehall stuff,
Right.
and like little by little started kind of happening.
Nice.
So that one's called At 333 House.
Yes.
Is that the name of it? And was that kind of just like a continuation of the first one, or was there anything
In a
that
way,
you-
yeah.
So I mean, did you learn anything from that first one where you're like, all right, I'm gonna do this different for this second record, or was it just like this is a
Just
good thing?
engineering stuff most like I gotta figure out how to record a kick drum better, and I need a better bass amp because my bass amp that I used, which sounds good on the record, but it was like sometimes it was just like I recorded the bass 5, 6, 7 times and I couldn't get it. There are songs that never made it to the record because the bass recordings were horrible. And I really wanted the songs to be in the record, and it was just like engineering stuff I definitely learned more. Also wanted to like collab with friends and have like Rubens on that at 333 House on the song 333 House. Yeah. I wanted to have like more people in it, and like I wanted percussion. Micah is in percussion as well in the record.
And that's important too. I would think for the pure direction of, there's so many people, including myself and Devin, that would love to see, like all these songs being performed by a full band. So as you're slowly incorporating other musicians, like I said, until we find a way to clone you, it's hard to get like this. Or,
Dude, yeah, it's the bane
Definitely.
of my Roger. This is like the bane of my existence. Every night I go to sleep thinking, how the hell am I gonna pull this off live?
Right.
How am I gonna put a band together?
We're gonna clone you 6 times, and it's gonna be called Pachyman.
But see, that is like the perfect segue, because what you're doing is you're incorporating, Micah and Ruben, and you're starting to, it's just a next step of the sound. We know bands that have done that, where they have a certain sound. People, the essence of what you are never gets lost. You know what I mean? It's other things, sweeter things get on top of the. It's like the frosting on the cake, and then eventually it's like boom, Pachyman live with the full
Nice. The other thing is like, how am I gonna do the dubs live? That's what
right.
because I can bring like what I'm doing now is just like I bring my setup and I do like live, like kind of a DJ set, but it's live.
This is what you do. start incorporating other musicians, right?
Hmm.
So next thing you know, you have a full band. You're not even in the band. You're the one dubbing it out, and then you get someone to dub it out. You're not even there that night. You're at home
Dude,
chilling, collecting the guarantees.
Recording punk
yes.
rock again.
Dude,
That's the
yeah.
way to do it.
You're with Orlando at a
Yeah,
sex
dude,
day show down the street.
I could have 3 bands and have a show in Europe, a show in LA, and South America, collecting all all the
You know
loot,
what?
and I'm
That
at home doing a podcast with you guys, talking
Yes.
about the shows. that
Well, not with
everybody's at.
Devin. Pachi, I think that this is the. Should we tell Devin? Yeah, Devin. Pachi is now the co-host. It's going to be me and Pachi for.
It's been a long time coming, and and in repayment of the debt that I owe Pachi from
It
Seattle,
was his
From the
birthday,
road
and
team.
you had him.
I
go get
hand-
tortillas? Come on, man.
I hand my co-hosting over
Yeah.
to you, Pachi.
Let-
But that, you know what, Roger,
Here's
that
one of
really,
my questions though, real quick. When
Yeah.
I was talking about having a full band together, if you did, what instrument would you gravitate towards to be like, all right, there's only one Pachyman? Would you prefer? And granted, it could change every night in a perfect scenario, but
Yeah,
what do you gravitate to? Would you like?
dude, I think I would be a hype dude. I wouldn't even play
geez.
anything.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
the flag waver.
Yeah, the flag waver, just in the microphone, hyping people in the dance floor.
Collecting the check.
I don't
love
know, man. Like, I like playing bass for
Yeah,
sure.
it. Yeah.
Bass and drums, but I probably won't do drums because it's too much work.
Well, that's
I
funny
love
because
bass and keyboards, but I like dub ambassadors were talking about, like, I played keyboards in reggae bands all for
Mhm.
10 years, and like keyboards is like my shit.
Mhm.
And I could do like keyboards too, but then I like to play bass, and I love drums, but I don't want to play drums, and I want to hype people, and I want to be at the controls, so I can't do all these things, man.
Yeah.
not with that attitude, but it's funny you say
Need
that, like,
more
you
arms.
wouldn't want to play drums, because for me, like, if I was gonna, if someone said, like, here, like, Pachi's gonna be in your band, like, you get to choose what he plays, I think I would put you on drums for the simple fact of, like, for me as a songwriter and somebody who really, tries to study Jamaican music, and whether or not I truly do know Jamaican music, I feel like I have a good handle on it in terms of, like, for what I feel and, like, what I want to hear. And, like, and I feel the same about you. And for me, it's like, if I've got someone in the group that knows Jamaican music, like, I want them on drums, because you're steering the train. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
Super
because you can
crucial.
do everything else. You know what they all should be doing, and therefore you know what the drums need to be doing if you were playing one of those
Yeah.
things. You know what I mean? So I think
get-
you're the drummer.
Getting that drum sound nowadays, it's like one of the hardest parts too. That and the keyboards, actually, because people just bring digital keyboards and it just sounds like a digital keyboard. No, like, nothing wrong with that, but like, I'm not trying to go for that. And for
Right.
drums, it's the same thing, where it's like, yo, you got to make those drums sound right. Like, it'll make it or break it hard.
Right.
you know?
But it is interesting. It is an interesting question to think, like, and this is where, if we had live comments, I'd be asking people, like, it's interesting for, like, what Pachyman fans, what they would want. Like, if they were going to a show, like, what would they expect, And I think it might be what Roger said. I think it might be like you engineering, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like, that is, if you're doing any
Yeah,
of the
definitely.
instruments, you're kind of just like
Yeah.
one person in the band. But if you're the engineer, like, if you're dubbing it live, then it's like, okay, this is the thing. There's this cool band on stage playing Pachi's material, and Pachi's at the controls doing the, we Expanders were lucky enough to play some shows over the years. We were backing Jamaican artists, or even doing our own shows, and we had scientists, like, at the controls at the
Yeah.
dub club, so something like that, where it's
Yeah.
like people are tripping out, like, whoa, like, the engineer is part of this show
Yeah,
right now.
but
like,
but it has to be on stage. That's the tricky part.
Yeah, because you want the
Yeah,
visual.
dude, I want to be there on stage
there's
doing it.
you put a big, like, projector, and
and hologram myself onto the
Oh,
stage.
well, hologram is
we get
obviously
to
the way
talk.
to go. I mean,
You're right. You're right, Pachi. Like, how dope
On
is that?
st-
Like,
yeah,
the logistics of it, we
Come
all know.
on.
We all know that it's easier
might
said
be
than
impossible.
no,
What?
you could dub it
No,
on
it's probably
stage.
just-
Headphones,
yeah,
headphones on stage.
Yeah, headphones on stage.
And
done. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Scientists
I
used to make us put our amps off the
Facing-
stage, like behind the stage, facing the
Yeah.
other way. So, like, Dub Club, it's a high ass stage, and instead of our amps, like, being behind us as normal, they're like yards away, facing the other way. So, like, he could go bass and drums when he wanted,
Right.
Like, so you could do something like that.
Or you go like the extra mile, have all the musicians learn all the dubs exactly how they're
Oh,
supposed to
jeez.
be, and he went right there, like hitting that last snare, poof, and then he like actually stops.
That, I mean, you know what?
That's how people do it anyways, right? Expanders. I mean, I'm in no
Yeah.
diss
I
expanders,
mean,
but
that's how dub bands do it
I
right.
mean,
nowadays, right?
yeah, exactly. Like that really is, and if you think about it, it seems like a lot, right? You talk about it, but only in the context of reggae, because reggae is, like you're used to just kind of like sitting in the pocket, and that's what you're kind of focused on when you're playing reggae. But I mean, other genres like classical
Do it
music or
all the
whatever it
time.
may be. I mean, there's a million things you got to like remember for each song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think it would be out of the question for like to get a group together and be like, look, we are learning these, or not just these songs, not just these
Yeah.
rhythms, but we're learning these arrangements.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I think people get off on that. I mean,
Hey, well,
Expanders did it, and it worked so well. Just knowing when the reverb blasts are coming or what the dropouts here and there.
and
Yeah.
what we did was like super minimal, and we never had the time to like, or the really, that just wasn't what we were going for. But
Mhm.
if you had a crew that was like, look, this is what we're
This is
doing,
what we're doing. I'm not
you,
singing. This is my
yeah,
spiel, dude. Like this is my thing. Like I
it would
gotta
be
do it
it
this
would be
way.
unique. It
Yeah.
would be like there wouldn't be another band like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Thank you, Roger, for opening this can of worms.
I'm telling you, man, it gets the brain flowing because it's inevitable, man. It's gonna happen. I cannot wait to see the full band. I mean, because it's gonna be different than any other band. I think where
Hopefully,
where it got created from and the whole story to like having a full on live thing. The
yeah.
only problem is, and we've all been through this problem, is it's just man, when you get a musician that can play reggae really well, they end up. I mean, look at yourself. Look at a Devin. Look at a John Asher. Where you're like, dude,
Bye. Yeah.
yeah, they're hard to come by. So it's like to get a
They're
full
hard.
band of like
Yeah.
people that you really know can pull it off right. That's a
Yeah.
challenge in itself.
Big up to John Asher. He's probably like the sickest reggae drummer I ever played with in my life.
Me too.
Yeah, he's
Actually, he's like the biggest inspiration because for me to learn drums, because he told me, I'm like, dude, when did you learn to play drums? When did you start? And he was like, I was 27. I'm like,
oh shit.
what?
Yeah.
And I was 26 at the time. I'm like, oh shit, that means I could learn how to play drums and be as good as you in like 10
I'm gonna
years.
be better than Asher. I'm 1 year above Asher.
Yeah.
26, John. John, get over here. John.
No, John.
He's with Roy.
John.
He's a the thing. Yeah, man. It comes down to this. I think that if you look at Jamaica, not taking anything away from any of those artists, but a lot of them, street smarts, right? It's not. Of course, you had Alpha Boy School, and you had people that were schooled, the horn players especially. But you look at someone like Horsemouth, and I don't know. I think Horsemouth did go to Alpha Boy School, so it's a bad example. My point is that you have these musicians that they they knew the music and they felt it in their hearts and in their soul, and that was more important than, oh my gosh, I can read sheet music or whatever the case is. And I think that picking up drums or picking up bass purely based off the love of reggae music is more important because you're just going to get closer to the finish line, and you
Yeah.
do that. I mean, nail that.
Thank
um,
you.
I'd rather have
Very
someone
much.
like that than like, I mean, imagine there's so many musicians out there right now in the Cali reggae scene, and
Yeah.
they went to this school and they went to this school, and I know how to do this, and they
Yeah.
can shred. They could shred. Give them a guitar,
Yeah.
give them a horn, and they're gonna play you a crazy solo. But I'd
Yeah.
rather have me something that's tasteful.
Yeah.
That's
Tasteful. Yeah.
exactly.
That's
And
it. You get it. You get it.
no, but everything you do is resembles that. There's no bumps in the road. It's just a smooth, straight ahead uh
It's just like
journey.
I know what I like when it comes to this stuff, and
Right.
and and like I get people that gravitate towards it.
You
Like,
mentioned learning stuff along the way. You have your first album, second release. And is it fair to say that this new release is the third?
yeah, it's the third full length. I did a 7-inch in between.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the things that you like upon this third release? You're like, okay, cool. Now I'm stoked on this, or I locked in this sound, or whatever the case is.
I'm stoked on. Well, I changed. I am using a different tape machine,
Mhm.
and like my original setup for the 388, my playback heads are busted, and it sounds amazing that way. I love how it sounds, but I this like Roots Radix and Channel One sound was like where the foundation Pachyman sound comes from, right? And this new tape machine that well, not new now, it's like a year and a half old by now. I could get closer to that Channel One sound because it's a little less lo-fi. Where it's like the
Mhm.
388, I'm like kind of understanding that this machine, or at least the one that I have,
Mhm.
works better for like Studio One kind of vibe.
Mhm.
So that I kind of locked down, and I'm like more comfortable with the microphone now, and it's like more like like the record has kind of it's like it's inspired from that like Prince Jammy Destroys the Space Invaders record, where
That's
like
that's like one of my favorite records as far as the I mean, shit, dude.
record's
How dope is
insane.
that record, dude?
It's so good.
And you nailed it.
Oh,
I mean, it's definitely
by the way, you guys were talking about earlier about like the Studio One dub shit and how people don't gravitate. I think that's the sickest shit. It's
Nice.
funny because nobody like talks about it, but
Mm,
it's like
I
straight,
agree.
it's purely vibes. It's not about like the flashiness of like the dub engineers. It's more about the music and about the texture and about the vibe of those songs. Like
right. Yeah, it's a different thing. I think
amazing.
to call it dub, yeah, it's just I mean, dub has so many sub meanings, I'm sure, but I agree. It's a it's not like you can expect a Lee Perry or a King Tubby, but even them two are two different things, you know. So it's just
Same, yeah,
artist to artist,
Yeah,
you
it's
know. It's all
unique. It's
different.
unique in the dub spectrum. This, the Studio One stuff.
yeah. Anyway,
But
but yeah, like I'm more comfortable with the microphone now. I'm doing I gravitated towards that channel one kind of vibe.
Mhm.
Again, but like more like kind of like announcing and like having like segues in between, like the songs kind of interconnect a little bit more seamlessly, and
Nice.
there's like synthesizer sounds. I'm using more synths, and I'm
Yeah.
also really interested in going into like the lovers rock, but like the soul jazz lovers rock stuff, that kind of like the um, the Ernest Ranglin kind of like sexy disco hits,
Mhm.
and like the Freddie McGregor kind of chord structures. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of that in the, well, not a lot, but there's definitely stuff like that in the record. And like my second single is that as well. Like El Ben song is like straight up like kind of like that, and I put it purposely up towards the end of the record because I kind of wanted to like segue into that for my next
Mhm.
project,
cool.
where it's
That
like more in the lovers rock kind of like, sexy tunes, kind of like vibing.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
when
You feel that it's cool because I feel like that's where, on other subgenres in Los Angeles, you have like the oldie scene that it's been around forever, but there's a lot of the soul stuff. It's cool to see how reggae, the new reggae and new purists and people that think like us, the journey that's taking, and
Yeah.
so when you say lovers rock, it ties into what's going on in LA, even with the soul stuff that's going on in that subgenre. How like it was daptone and funk and soul, and now it's like cholo oldies and lowriders, and then how does that? It goes hand in hand with now the reggae cats are. It's a really cool thing. It's a journey, and everything's gonna, it's like everything's gonna reach full circle. Where like before you know it, ska is gonna be back in, and it's gonna be, what I mean. But
Wow.
for
Yeah.
now, I think that the reggae totally needs that, and so it's awesome. I can't wait to hear what the
Yeah.
next chapter would be because when I
Yeah.
when I
No,
listened to this album, Devin shared the album with me, and it has a theme, so you nailed it. If that was one of the things you were trying to accomplish, you definitely did. It's not like
thank
a
you.
series of individual songs. It's like you hit
No.
play and there's a theme,
Yeah. I
like.
like I like records like that where it's like it takes you through a whole journey of like what that record is. It's kind of
Right.
like in a way building it like every time, if you think about it every time to like do it, gets kind of convoluted because there's like it comes with like so much territory and like conceptually like trying to birth a record when like a lot of my records were just like songs that I was making. This was like the first time that I like got into like I want to make an album,
Mhm.
but I can't like promise that like that's gonna work out every way that way because that's like a lot of work. That's like, and I like cranking out tunes and putting out just like records that are just like little morsels of like tunes. Just check out
Mhm.
this song, check out this
right.
other song.
Right, for sure.
So when does that record come out and what's it called?
August 13th on ATO Records, and it's called The Return of Pachyman.
Nice.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Heck yeah.
And does it have is the cover in the same vein?
Oh yeah. You know, I'm always going that classic, just poses,
Heck yeah,
impossible poses,
I
flamingo
And
pose.
love it.
and you
I
know,
love it.
Pachi was cool enough to hook us up with a record to give away. So you know, at the beginning of this podcast, I gave you all the information of how you can enter that. So definitely do, or else you're going to be getting it for $150 on Discogs if you wait.
No,
so
not this
so
time.
you can get it. You can get it for free. And I
Yeah,
definitely recommend everyone do get that.
Heck yeah,
reggae
dude.
Yeah, man.
merch.
Yeah, the reggae gear. You
Reggae
gotta
gear.
get it. Shirts, especially, man. I guess like you guys, you know, you two have your style. You know, it's like Roger's got his style. I'm talking about the clothes you wear. Pachi, I feel
Are
like
you
got
talking
your,
about like not wearing pants? Because that is my style.
yeah,
I don't
like
wear pants.
that's kind of the reason. Like that was
So
one of the reasons we started this podcast is because we
No
knew
pants.
that the waist down we were just good. Like we didn't have to do anything. But I am someone who likes, like right now I'm wearing my friend Becky's t-shirt, but I like to wear reggae shirts. And I mean, I guess you guys don't really. You guys don't really like gravitate towards that kind of thing, huh? But I do. I'm sorry for this reggae merchandise tangent, but I feel
wouldn't
strongly
wear
about
it.
it. I feel strongly about reggae shirts.
Buy me a PodClash shirt. I'll wear it.
I got you on.
Buy me a
there's nothing
Pachyman
wrong.
shirt. I'll wear it.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna make a shirt.
Yes.
Reggae gear.
Do you have shirts, Pachi? Can people buy like Pachi gear?
Not at the moment. I will.
Okay, please do. Please
Yeah.
do it. I got
Sure.
some ideas for you. You're gonna want to hear it.
Okay, I'm sure I would love to hear your ideas on shirts, on reggae gear.
So, look, Pachi, before we let you go, we have this thing we want to do that we like to do with all our guests, and it's called the rapid fire segment. And we're just gonna shoot you some real quick questions, and you just first thing that comes off the top of your head. We don't need to elaborate too much. Just
Okay.
off the dome, off the Pachi dome.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
Okay, what's the first album you remember buying?
Buying.
Listen,
I'm
buying.
from I come from the era of blogspot, just like records that you don't have to pay for. Okay, first record buying. Corn. Issues.
Corn, like Korn.
Yeah,
Nice.
Issues for sure.
Nice.
That was the first record I bought, probably.
I could hear that in the Pachyman stuff. Okay, go, Roger.
I'm not proud of that.
Hey,
No, you know what's
bro.
cool? You know what's cool?
Wait till you hear
Pachi?
my first records.
Oh
Pachi,
god.
what's super cool is that like yes, Corn. You're not
Yeah,
like,
dude,
oh,
Issues.
Document 2 Evening Time is the first. No, come on,
Yeah,
dude.
right.
Corn.
Yeah.
Mine was Devin Morrison live at Stubbs.
Yeah.
He has it's an unreleased thing, and then
I was-
not Stubbs in Texas.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was 4 years old, but go ahead.
Here's the next question: what's the last thing you listened to before this interview?
the 7 inches you guys played, which were
Oh, that's
great,
good.
by
That's
the
a
way.
That's a good.
See, because
Dang
you
it.
said before this interview, not before this show. So
Oh,
Well, no, not hey. In all
Right.
fairness, this question was not.
By the way, that
Devin
first
assembled
one-
some of these
oh, I'm
questions.
not criticizing. I'm just saying
Okay.
that's way to catch the essence of the question, Pachi.
No,
yeah.
dang.
When
Okay,
I
how
didn't
about
know
this?
you were playing like your record, and I was like, it sounds like Roger.
It's the first time, like, yeah. It's hopefully it won't be the last, but because Devin's got a new album coming out too, and we're gonna do a whole show on that. So we got to slang where we can slang. Okay, how about this though? Before the show,
Okay, before the show, I think I was hanging out with my homie Bert in the other room, and we were listening. I think it was Ryuichi Sakamoto. It's like one of the guys that started YMO, Yellow Magic Orchestra, one of the ambient records that he has. So I was listening
Wow.
to Japanese ambient. Ryuichi
Wow.
Sakamoto, I forget his name, but something like that.
Nice.
That was the last thing.
Great. Okay. The Harder They Come or Rockers?
Rockers. I don't want to see The Harder They Come again, man. It's so man. It's sad and like violent and like I can't. Great studio footage, but Rockers, bro, way easier vibe to handle.
That's the right answer.
yeah. What's your favorite item on the hospitality rider backstage? You go backstage and it's before a show and there's some free stuff. What's your favorite item?
Like you're talking about like when you're starting out and there's nothing there except water
dude.
and hummus, or like when
thinking
you're
too
Dang
much
it,
about
Devin, I'm getting the bunk questions here. No, I'm joking.
Well, you skipped one, Roger. You skipped one. I gave you a good one. You skipped.
Oh, you did give me a good one. I don't want the writer question. All
How about
right.
you?
King
Yeah,
Tubby or Lee Perry?
King Tubby.
Good answer.
I want the writer question. I'm
Yeah.
not letting you get out of here without that. What do you like?
got it.
Coconut what? Huh?
I'll answer it. Is alcohol involved too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
well,
yeah.
like
Anything.
whatever bottle of tequila.
I love it.
Beautiful. I guess it's my turn now. Last live concert you attended as an audience member?
It's been a while. Dude, I don't remember. It's been a while, dude. Like since live concerts for a thing.
That's true. All right.
Probably OCs at the Telegram for Halloween.
Nice.
It can't be, dude. October 2019.
You probably
maybe.
You probably went to like a dub. You must have gone to like a dub club show after that or something. Okay, go right.
Last.
Next one is a favorite singer from Jamaica. Hey, wait, that ties into the next one, Devin, though. But favorite current.
I'm realizing some of these are like some of the things that we ask like old school Jamaican artists when we have them on. So it's a little like it sounds different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I guess here I won't even look at the list. Like your favorite singer, it could be who's moving and shaking for you right now as far as reggae is concerned. It could be out of Jamaica. Obviously there's a new movement going on with all the artists coming out. Who are you gravitating towards right now?
Damn, I don't know. Because I never know their names either.
Don't say Devin Morrison.
Well, I won't. I owe you that one, man. Like I'm blanking out. I always blank out during these like.
No, that's good. That's just a testament to your old school. Like you're sticking to it. You're like, I don't want to talk about
like,
younger,
new
modern
school
Jamaican. I like old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just thinking about like whatever. I'm trying to think of something in it. Sorry, owe you that one.
No worries. No worries.
Unless you're down to wait 5 minutes to me to go through my brain and be like, I'm short.
Hey, you know what? You have to come with the answer because we're definitely going to have you on again. So, I mean, you have to come in with the.
Okay, I'll come in with the answer next time.
Devin, you get the next question?
I think that's it. Favorite place in the world to perform?
I don't know, man. I love France is dope, but I've also loved Berlin.
Nice. And roti, yes or no?
Yes.
Wrong answer, because that's just not going to work out. You're going to quit the band.
Man.
As long as I don't have to drive an hour to get it, dude.
Did the bread, was it a matter of like bread was there, just no dish?
Yeah.
Like,
as far as I
was
remember.
bread.
It's like ordering naan or like.
Yeah,
Right,
it's like,
right.
it's what I thought it was.
I
thought it was
going
going
to
to.
a side of tortillas. But
I thought it was the name of like the curry dish, because this was only my second time having it. My first time had just been like earlier that year. Right. And so like they just ordered for me at that time, so I just heard wrong. I thought that was the name of this delicious thing, and I've been telling Pachi like, oh, you got to get this, it's so bomb. And and he ordered it, and it turned out it was just like it's like when you go to Ethiopian food and you have like that like spongy bread to pick everything up with, like it's like that, it's like if you just had that, but not even like that. If you just had that, you'd be like, all right, like whatever, it's kind of tasty. But roti is like, it's like a tortilla or like a falafel, or I mean like a not a falafel, like a pita,
and
or
nectar.
like.
Delicious.
The nectar, right? Yeah. The nectar is always there's really not a lot of options around. There's that liquor store, right? And then maybe there's options. We ate with Long Beach Dub down the street or something like that. But
what did you end up good Thai stuff
that night, Pachi?
Wait, what?
What did you end up eating on your birthday?
Okay. Didn't you drive back or no?
I drove back, but by the time I got home back to the venue, I wasn't even hungry anymore. I was pissed. I was just like, whatever, dude, I'll have a beer.
I like that. On an empty stomach, that's the birthday I want. I'll tell you that right now.
For sure. Before we let you go, is there anything besides your new album you want to plug? Are you going to be doing more of these live videos?
Not at the moment.
Cool. Well, everyone make sure to go pick up The Return of Pachyman.
Yeah, get the record. Get like The Return of Pachyman out of ATO Records on August 13th, 2021. I'm going to be playing some shows as well, not in Los Angeles, but like I'm going to be playing at Brooklyn Steel, opening for Black Pumas in September. in September.
And so, what do you do right now when you play?
Bring my tape machine. Well, I'm not flying with the tape machine. I'm bringing a computer and a mixing board, my pedals, and a microphone, and just basically do like and like a synthesizer setup. I might bring the melodica as well, and I'll do live dub takes of my tunes and play like certain licks over it, stuff.
That's super cool.
That's the moment. That's like what I have at the moment.
So that's definitely, I think that's even doubling down on what I was saying, which is that like when you finally do put a band together, like I think you got to be the dub engineer. And that's really what Pachyman is going to be in the live setting. Because when we were talking about that, I forgot that you've done some live stuff. You even did like a dub club set at one point.
Yeah,
right?
the first ever set I ever did was at Dub Club.
That's fucking dope.
Yeah.
The world
Awesome,
needs
man.
that. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Thank
Well, dude,
you.
Pachi. Oh, and there's just one more thing I got to ask you. It's really
Yeah.
important. It's a burning question that I've had this whole interview, which is, what is the screen name you entered for yourself down here? It says like, what is it?
Little Prince Stevie Banton.
What is that?
I don't know. It's my alter ego.
Little
It's
Prince
like-
Stevie Banton.
Yeah, I can. It's like you know how everyone's Banton.
Yeah.
Devin Banton, Roger Banton, everyone's a Banton. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude,
I wanted to be Banton.
I just
wanted-
noticed that, and I love it. Little
Yeah.
Prince Stevie Banton.
And like they're all like either little Roger, or little Devin.
I see. You're just putting all the monikers together. I see.
I want to and like little Stevie actually came. One of the last records that I worked on before I moved out of Puerto Rico was in Mima's El Pozo. And I recorded keyboards all over that record, and we were working on a song for that record called Oigo Voces, and it was me, Jari, Mima, and Oturamun that produced the record, and they're like, oh, I want to go for like this vibe, this kind of like Halloween, like kind of like the thriller kind of theme for this song, and I came out with a lick that they loved, and they dubbed me Little Stevie that day. From then on, I was known as Little Stevie to these two people. That's where like that Little Stevie thing came, and I was like, man, I gotta get like an alter ego, like dancehall star kind of guy. And it's like Little Prince Stevie Banton, dude.
That's dope, dude.
I want it to stick.
I really noticed that.
I'm not gonna call you anything else. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. See, it works.
LPSB.
Stevie,
Little Stevie,
Little Prince.
Prince. LP.
All right, man. Pachi, it's great to see your face. It's great to hear your voice. I'm so excited. There's a new record coming out. Once again, everyone, make sure you pick up The Return of Pachyman, August 13th, 2021. And it's just another in what we hope will be a long line of these amazing dub records. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for asking all the tough questions, man.
Pachi, dude, it's been so awesome talking to you, man.
Same,
I can't wait for people to hear that record. It's freaking amazing. Yes,
dude. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor speaking to two reggae nerds.
Yes. The honor is all ours.
Big up to that Tiffany lamp. I hope you get like a lot of Tiffany lamps now.
Thank you. Yeah, let's cross our fingers. Jeez.
Yeah.
Please.
It's gonna happen. All right. Later, Pachi. Thank you, bro.
Bye.
All right. Yes. The great Pachyman. You know, we've been really talking about having him on for a long time, and
for sure.
I'm glad that he was the first guest of our new incarnation of the Reggae PodClash. You know, we were thinking of calling this season 2, but we kind of just made a group decision that season 1 is just going to live in perpetuity. It's just infinite season 1. So
there'll be a season 1 episode 132.
If we all are blessed to live that long, then that will be...
Well, the way we're cranking them out, that'll be done by... No, actually, I take that back. We're cranking them out once a month now, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. Once a month, but maybe with little... you know, who knows? Might get some bonus episodes.
Yeah, for sure.
Here and there. But before we split, we want to really quick go into our shout-outs. Shout-out some people doing some great things. Oh, wait. Hold on. I always do this wrong. There it is. Okay, we want to shout out the Rootsland podcast presented by Consequence of Sound. The host is Henry Ko. He's a great storyteller. It's a must listen for fans of Jamaican music. Go check that out. Go check out Songs from Scratch with Nate Feinstein. His Instagram is at Nathan_Aurora. Watch him great. He makes great songs live. It's dope. The best live stream on the internet is Clinton Farron, A Sunday with and Talk with a Friend. Go check that out. The great Clinton Farron of the Gladiators. You watch it on Facebook or Instagram. Big up History of LA Ska, our homies Junior Francis and Eric Kohler. They do something very similar to what we're doing. They celebrate SoCal ska and reggae scene, and also they've had Jamaican artists on too. Their Instagram is at History of LA Ska. You got to check out Chuck Foster's Reggae Central. That is what Roger and I owe so much to Chuck Foster, just listening to reggae, the cuts that he plays ever since. He's been doing it since the 90s. You can listen to it every Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. at KPFK 90.7 FM, also kpfk.org if you're not in LA. And speaking of Junior Francis, you got to check out the Junior Francis Reggae Show. It's every Saturday night, 8 to 11 p.m. on kxlu.com rather. And of course, like we were just talking about the whole episode, the Mighty Dub Club. It does live streams every Wednesday night, 9 to 12. That's on twitch.tv/dubclubla. And we're you got to check out all these great things happening because there's so much. And we want to thank our guest Pachyman, and I want to thank you, Roger. I really want to extend my thanks.
You're welcome, first of all.
Yeah.
First, no, I definitely thank Pachyman, man. He is amazing talent, and we need more of his music. And go get his album. Devin, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being you and for loving reggae shirts.
I love them so much.
And I want to thank the audience out there listening and watching. We love you guys.
Yes, please tell your friends about this podcast. It really helps a lot. That's almost like the biggest thing you could do to support the Reggae PodClash is to tell your friends to subscribe and like and download and leave a review. If you can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, that pushes us up in the search engines so that when people, go in their podcast app and type in reggae, we can be the first thing that pops up. So if you are looking for just one way to support the show, that is a great way. And of course, if you're looking for other ways, you can go to the Reggae PodClash merchandise store at rootfire.net and click on the store tab. Thanks again to our guest Pachyman. Go get his new album, The Return of Pachyman, out August 13th, 2021. And until next time, this is the Reggae PodClash. I am Man Like Devin.
I'm Roger Rivas.
And we'll see y'all soon.